Hi, welcome. Jo here, back at williecottage.com. Happy New Year to those that don't watch my live chats. That's fine, it's totally understandable. But if you're only here for the videos, you're welcome. Hope you had a lovely season over December and didn't get too frantic or stressed out. January's always that time for, oh my God, the bills are coming in. Oh, yeah, I know. We're all there. We need new tyres and MOT and everything else on the car in the next couple of months. So it's always a bit bedlam for us as well. Right, so today, the first video for 2024 is a spinning video, because I haven't done one for a while. But if you watched or caught any of the limited amount of YouTube videos that I did over Vlogmas and Christmas time, there was one video when I actually spun with a thread wrapped around the fibre. So it's singles wrapped, okay? And there's different things, there's different ways of doing it where you can create these little knops, which is K-N-O-P, and it's literally just going back and forth. You're spinning a single. You're spinning a single yarn and you're wrapping another yarn or a thread or a boucle or a mohair, a laceweight mohair, or laceweight yarns that you might have in your stash. And it's really great, especially if you're using an undyed wool like this, an undyed wool, and adding a pop of colour into it. So it gives it a slightly, when it's knitted up as a single and you don't ply it, it ends up looking a bit like a speckling effect all the way through. And if you use like a glittery yarn or a neon yarn fibre, you can get hold of those, then it really does enhance the look of your singles. Singles, not everybody likes them, but if you're new to spinning singles and you want to knit with it, what it also helps with as well is the structure of your singles, because you're putting an extra thread around it. You're not actually spinning it on, you're wrapping it around your singles. So what it'll do is help trap any loose segments that haven't got a lot of twisting. When you're spinning singles, you don't want to spin too much because you're not going to be plying it. You don't want to put too much energy in there. You're not going to be plying it afterwards. It's going to stay as a single. And there's a couple of different methods that you can use afterwards. I will have a look, see if I can find I'm sure I've got a video on here somewhere, and we will go on to that, another video about different ways to finish off your yarns once you've spun them, okay? I'll do that, I think, next month, which might help you, especially now that the warmer weather's coming in. We've got a wind chill factor of -6 today here. But yeah, I'll do that next month. I will get some yarns that haven't been washed or prepped or anything like that yet, and I will show you the different ways. There's 2 different ways that you can actually sort those out, but we'll get into that another time. So anyway, what it does when you're wrapping, it not only gives it a unique look and effect when you knit or crochet or even use it for weaving, it helps keep the structure of your yarn in those places where you've not spun it quite enough. Don't worry if you think you've spun it a little bit too much, because once you've washed it or steam set it, the energy will calm right down. If there's still a little bit too much energy in there, it will unravel. You may find that you'll have to just unravel it a little bit as you're working with it, especially as newbies. People like me that have been doing it for a while, you know exactly what I'm on about. So it's just a matter of getting your twist right on your spinning wheel, drafting really nicely and trying to keep it consistent as well all the way through. So on your spinning wheel, I'm using my my Morgana today, my spinning wheel Morgana, and it's a Kromsky Prelude. It's based on an old Saxony spinning wheel. It's a 3-legged single treadle wheel, and when I'm doing this technique, I put the yarn, the drive band on the largest whirl, and I'll just show you now. So there's my little spinning wheel. Excuse the mess. I'm just going to raid in my yarn box. So that's my Morgana spinning wheel. She's my workhorse. This is the one that I really like using a lot. I just love the way that she spins up. Now, to be fair, I'm not really one for using the smaller whirls. I feel like it goes far too fast and just wants to pull the wheel out my hand. I like using this ratio when I'm spinning majority of the time. It's probably the reason why I only ever get a DK weight yarn off my spinning wheel. If I was to come down to these ones, I'd have to turn down the tension, make sure it's not too tight. This needs replacing soon. Yeah, it's been on it since I've bought it, and I definitely need a new one. It's getting yellowy and discoloured. So this is sort of the look that you're looking for, and smoky colour when it needs renewed. Yeah, so that'll need renewing at some point, and I will do a video about maintaining and the things to do with your spinning wheel to keep it clean and up to date. And you want to do that about once every 6 months, but that's another video for another time. Maintenance of your spinning wheel, we'll get onto that at another date. So anyway, yeah, so I use the largest wheel for spinning my singles and for doing anything like that on this wheel. So I'll put you back and we will get started. Right, so for the thread, you can do it a single thread, you can do multiple threads for wrapping around your singles, for a singles wrapped or a wrapped singles yarn. Something like this is my go-to. It's it's supposed to be a mohair. It's a mohair. It's been loosely spun and manufactured yarn. This is one of my go-tos, but I usually use this for when I'm doing, what's the word now? Spinning on locks, because it needs something to grip onto. It's a very hairy wool, as you can see. It's very hairy wool. There's other things, applications that I use it for when I'm spinning, and I can't think of a single thing. I can't think of anything. See, it's the new year, my brain's just it's been whitewashed. It's like the Men in Black. You go through that door and they zap you and you can't remember what it was you went into that room for. Yeah, that's exactly the type of day I'm having. It is Monday after all. Anyway, so what you could also use, I buy these for making my project bags up when I want them quilted. So this one's a multicoloured, just a polyester yarn, and then there's another multicoloured one, different tones of greens and yellows. So you could use something like that. This is what the silk is, 100% silk, very, very fine. It is, does it say? It just says, all right, 450 den plied reel of silk. So I use this actually for my tablet card weaving. So you could use something like this if you want to do it a bit more luxurious, or you could go for something like this, which is a Donegal tweed fibre. You can see all the little neps in there on that thread, and you could use that for doing a single wrap on your yarns. So I'll just put them to one side because I'm not using them today, but what I am going to do is use 2 of these. If I could just find this one, I've just opened up. I'm going to get 2 of these, and I'm going to just put them in a little yarn bowl, so when they're bouncing around at my feet, I have got them down my feet somewhere safe where they'll not bounce all over the floor. Okay, so I'm just going to stick them down there, and I'm going to put those threads over my knee. Now you'll be able to see what it is that I'm doing, but you might not be able to see the yarn yet until afterwards. And I will, after this, once I've done this filming, I will quickly get out a crochet hook or something and knit up a swatch so you can see what the overall effect is afterwards, which is new, isn't it, dears? Yes, a swatch. Do you know, times have changed, haven't they? Times have changed. Jo's actually going to do a swatch for a change. She doesn't even do a swatch for knitting. Right, so you're just going to spin your wool as a single yarn as you would normally do. For your newbies, if you go back into my back to basics videos from last year, you'll see some videos there, and I will try and remember to put a link in the bottom in the descriptions to take you directly to that video of spinning on singles. You can do this effect on a drop spindle as well. It might be a little bit more trickier if you stood up and did your drop spindling, or sat on a high chair and you sat at a breakfast bar or something like that, or at your dining table. Then you could put your threads that you're going to spin with or want to ply onto your singles into a bowl, and then you can guide it in that way. It might be an easier solution for you, but you can, and it is possible to do that on a drop spindle as well. So I'm just going to sort of peek you around a little bit so you can see what I'm doing from this point of view. I will change your angle so you can see more this way, but I'll wait for my battery to charge up. Oh, Mary, I hope you're proud. I've not edited anything, love. I'm just winging it. Freelance videoing. So I'll just tilt you down up so you can see. Excuse the crunching noise. So I've got, I'm trying to grab, I've got one thread there. Where's the green one gone? I'm going to have to find it again. Right, get my green thread. And I'm going to spin them all off from the same start. Okay. So I've got my 2 threads here, as you can see, only just, and I'm going to put them through with my single wool, so they all start off together with no arguments. Okay, so you want to start off spinning as you would normally do, and what you want to do is, this is going to sit in your hand. So if you think about your knitting, where you put your yarn through your fingers like that, or around this way, but you want your hand to be free so you can do your drafting of your wool without worrying too much. But this, you want to sort of dangle down, let it come from behind the wool, but you're going to sort of guide it so it doesn't get wrapped up too much. You'll see what I mean in a minute as we go along. So it'd help if I put my foot on the treadle, wouldn't it? Pushing the wheel is not enough, Joe. You actually need to hold on a sec. Have we got issues? Does it have an attitude problem? It does. It needs tightening up a little bit on my Scotch tension. Just bring that down a bit. That's a bit too, there we go. It's been a while since she's been played with. Okay, there we go. That's still a bit too tight because my wool's going too thin for me. So you just get, the best bit about these first goings on, these first shenanigans, is getting your tension just right on your wheel. Right. My wheel wants to play up on me today. Bear with me a second. Okay, so I'm just spinning as usual. My fibres are all on there. The threads are all into the yarn. I'm trying not to spin. I'm going to have to bring my tension down a little bit because I'm getting too much twist in there. And I'm literally just taking my time. I want a thickish but not too thin, not too thick fibre. And what my problem is I'm trying to spin in a long draw, which is my natural way to go. What I need to be doing is feed it like it's a worsted yarn. Okay, so feed it like it's a worsted yarn. Now the fibres, the threads, as you can see, I've got them in my finger, so they're just in front of my drafting area. Okay, so there's my drafting area here. Can you see that there? Right, so my threads are sitting between my fingers so that they don't jump up into the rest of the roving before I even got any further. Okay, because they tend to just either sit there and spin, and I'll show you, and I've not got any control over them, and what you end up with is these. Can you see? You can just make out there you've got this lumpy bit here, which is brilliant if that's the effect that you want, and it is an effect that I use sometimes in my spinning, but I don't want that. I want it a little bit more uniformed for the moment. Okay, so I hold on to that with my finger, let it sit inside my furthest finger away from my drafting triangle. Okay, and it wraps around the fibre as I'm spinning, and because it's in a bowl, it's not jumping around, and I don't have to worry about chasing it all over the place. So I've got it guided. Some people put it down here. I don't, because I find that if I put my thread down here in my little finger and it's over the top of my other fingers, then these fibres here that are loose, that I've not got control of, will end up tangling up with that fibre, that thread on my hand here. You can just make it out. Okay, so that's not what I want to do, but the effect I'm getting, can you make it out? Can you make it out? You can just make out the green on there, but you will see it better in the swatch once I've done it. And I'm trying not to put too much twist in there. It's not too bad. It's very loose. Number 8, can you see, it comes out quite well. So I'm quite happy with that. It's not overly spun, because when I either wash it or if I steam set it, then that bit of energy will disperse throughout the rest of the yarn. So I'm quite happy with the way it's looking at the moment. So I've let that drop back down. I'm going to take that out of there because that's what I said I didn't want to do. And it's back into my, sitting around my index and middle finger section, and it's hanging down here out the way of my wool. and I'm just going to keep on spinning like that. And I've just got a sample of roving. There's about, I don't know, say about 30 grams here. And I'll just keep going. And because it's a lovely, soft, undyed wool, it's drafting out perfectly. If you'd like me to do a video where I show you how to prepare your fibres before you start spinning, especially if you're new and you've just got your spinning wheel this Christmas, let me just move that over there. I prefer it here. I can feel like it's pulling back of my fingers, and I feel like there's more control if I have it in my second finger or my index finger on my left hand. I am right-handed. I don't know if anybody uses their left hand for spinning with, or is it just spinners? Don't know. I have got control of my fibres. Now, when I'm drafting this out, okay, my hand's back here, and I have explained this before. When you're actually spinning your fibres, do a little strand to a staple length test. Pull your fibre out. Okay, so there is the length of an average staple length of this fibre. So if I was to put it back up here, so there's the beginning and the end of that's back here. I don't want to have my hand up here because it will strangle the fibres that are running through. Okay, because this is the length of the fibre as an average. But if I've got this here and that stops there, the odds are I'm going to have fibre that is round about this area is the beginning of it, and the rest of it is down here somewhere, which is fine because it all sort of chops and changes as you go along. So you want to have your drafting hand further back from the drafting triangle, depending on where your staple length is. Mine is here, so I generally have my hand about here, which means the majority of it, which is probably about 65% of my fibre, my roving, is going to be that length from there to there. Whereas the rest will start to come down in gradients all the way down, but there won't be as much as this bit because it's all up the top here. So I have my hand back here, a decent length. There's the end of my staple length is just here. I have my hand about here, and that makes it comfortable and really easy for drafting out your fibres. And I'll show you. Right, so my hand's up here. It's just halfway up that fibre there. And I'm struggling to pull. See my hand's jerking? Okay, so I'm struggling to pull out that fibre, which means is while I'm spinning the wheel and treadling, the energy is starting to build up a little bit more and in the same area, and my fibres are really stubborn to get out. If I put my hand back down to where my staple length is predicted to be, which is down here, and I bring my hand even like half an inch back up to the end of that staple length, then I end up with an easier flow. The spinning tension on my yarn is easier to control, and I'm getting a repetitive energy, the same continuously all the way through that section. And that's a decent length for this specific breed, which I think is a merino. I think it's a merino that I've got here. And look at that, how easy that is coming out, which will help you create a more consistent yarn diameter by having your hand back on the throttle rather than up on the choke hold. So just remember, if it feels like you're fighting with your fibre when you're spinning, especially if you want consistent yarn that looks the same all the way through, then just reposition your hand from up here where you think that's where it needs to be. Pull out a couple of strands, a little clump, see where the length is, compare it to the end of your main thickness at the top. And if it stops here, then sort of stay there, especially if you're working with a Shetland or something like that. But if it's got a longer staple length, around about 8 centimetres, then bring your hand back about 8 centimetres so you've got more control over your roving and not feel like you're fighting with it, which can actually end up hurting your fingers. You can feel like your fingers are strained, it's not comfortable, you end up getting all knotty and tensioned in the shoulders, whereas now I'm quite relaxed. I'm just gently treadling away on my wheel. My threads are wrapping up behind, and I feel like I'm getting a more consistent pull, and my flow's really, really nice, and it's quite relaxing. And if I was doing this downstairs, I'd be quite happily sat there watching TV and spinning away. without a care in the world. There we go. So what I'm going to show you next is how to do a knop or a knop, K-N-O-P, especially if you want a very knoppy yarn. So just bear with me a second. So while I'm drafting, I can bring out my threads, right? So the threads I was using that I've got around my finger, and it's just wrapping around as I spin along. But you can just all of a sudden get your threads, and as it's spinning, hold a second, just draft out a little bit more. As it's spinning, go up and down a few times. I'll do that again. Try and get that energy out of there. Draft out a section and then go with my thread up and down, and that's a knop. Let me just show you. I'll just draft that out and let that catch up, and I will just show you what it's created. I'll try and turn out that energy a little bit. It's a little bit. So can you make out where those threads have doubled over? So you've ended up with a couple of extra crisscrosses over the top of that yarn instead of just one single wrapping, which is like that. It's really hard to see on this. I really do need to invest in some extra proper camera gear, or just get your old professional photography stuff out, Joe. That might actually make more sense. Right, so now I've ended up with far too much energy because I've been messing around. I'll try and draft that out, untangle myself. See, it's not just you guys, it's me too. I'm just trying to untangle myself from that, and I want to try and get some of this energy. Oh, it's stuck around my ring. I've got to move my... Right, like that, get in there. There we go. So you can up and down and let it wrap. And then grab it again, up and down. Just create this crisscross effect in the back of your yarn. And because I've been messing around, I've lost my rhythm of my roving. There we go. Right, that's back in behind my finger there. And get it spinning again. And I will do the crisscross in a minute once I've got my rhythm back. Back, back. So just crisscross it, go up, grab a hold of your thread, go up and back. And again, up and back, and it crisscrosses over your fibre as you go along. If I was using a thicker yarn, you would see where the crisscrosses are a little bit more. I'm just going to do a quick one up there and back. So when you're doing the up and back, you want to try and pinch your wool where your thumb is now, and then do that and let the energy do the work for you. And because you're pinching, you try not letting the energy from that to go through this drafting here. But by now releasing, see how that twist is unraveling in the end of my yarn. And then I'll go again. Just take your time doing it. So I'm going to draft out in a second. Draft, draft, draft. I'm going to spin again. Do this with the up and down to create my little knot. I am pinching where I last spun, and I can feel it pinching in my finger. All that energy that's gone into my thumb here. Now I'm going to draft this out and let the energy that's twisted up here go into the rest of this drafting before I start spinning on. At the same time, I've got this back here in my finger. So it's still wrapping as I'm feeding the energy back down into my drafting yarn. Let me get this involved up here. Up there you go, mate. There we go. So I'll do that again. I'm going to draft out and I'm going to pinch. I'm still treadling. I'm pinching and pinching and pinching. I'm trying to get this fibre to wrap around it. All right, still pinching. Now there's lots of energy in there. Can you see it's all twisting up? I've got these bubbly bits behind. Now I'm going to draft out my fibres. Let the threads still wrap around my fibre, but I want the energy to come out from here and go back up into the new section of fibre. I'm going to go again and then start twisting. Up, pinch, down, wrap, and then draft out along. Up, pinching the fibre here and back round. Come on, you, I want to wrap it. I want it wrapping. Right, pinching still treadling, but now I'm just going to make sure this energy goes in there. And the thread's still here hanging down. You can hear it moving in the bowl. So I'm just going to do it again. Up with my thread, I grab a hold of it, pinching where my drafting triangle is on my fibre, and then go. There we go. I've just got a bit left. I'm just going to carry on doing this and I'll catch you in a bit. If there's any questions, stick them in the comments below. I'll answer them the best I can. It's a really simple technique. I mean, you could let it just hang there behind if you're going to apply the yarn afterwards, and it will create these gatherings, and every so often you just want to tug the fibre or the threads to catch up with the rest. And bring that back down here, and it will wrap around your fibre. And then if you want to apply it afterwards, what it'll do is it create its own boucle effect on your yarn, whereas I'm just wanting this wrap around effect for knitting a swatch, so you can see what it looks like afterwards. It'll be very subtle. I'm using very fine colour changing threads. I'm just going to adjust where my yarn is on the bobbin. Right, now it feels weird because I usually have it over there. That's why it doesn't feel right. I usually have it over my index finger and hanging down the back, as you can see. Whereas I had it wrapped around my index finger and my middle finger, and that didn't feel right at all. It always feels a little bit strange, but you get used to how you like it. All I can do is advise you that there is absolutely no right and wrong way of doing any type of crafts. There is the basics, and once you've got your basics going, if you want to create a new way or figure out a way that you can get the exact same effect by having a slightly different technique because it suits how you feel and how it feels to you, then you go ahead and do it. If you're creating the exact thing that you've been asked to do or you want to achieve, but it's not quite the same way as what somebody else does it, does not necessarily mean it's the right way or wrong way to do it. It's your way, okay? It's just like, for instance, I used to be in a crochet Facebook group years ago, and there's a couple of us out there that crochet with our right hand like we're knitting, like an English knitter. And a lot of people say, oh, you're doing that the wrong way. You shouldn't do it like that. You need to do it like this. Follow this link to this video. And you're like, no, That's the way that I've always done it. It's how it feels comfortable. I can actually crochet an entire blanket in the space of a week and a bit, like this technique, and it doesn't cause me any problems. I can still do the same stitches as you guys do. I just find it easier and quicker to do it like this. I used to get slated, and there was another lady who used to do it, and everybody like, oh my God, that's so weird. That's not the way you're supposed to do it. And we're like, no, that's how I do it. So for anybody out there that are prone to rules and regulations, you're on the wrong YouTube page, okay? You do things the way that it suits you. If you like to follow the rules and that's the way you are, then that's fine. But sometimes following the people's directions is just a direction. If you're being given a direction down the straight, but you see a quicker route to where you want to get to, then you'll follow those directions. You say thanks very much, and then see that there's a desire line that takes you 5 minutes off your pace. If that suits you, you go and do it, okay? Don't be listening to people, those naysayers that say, oh no, you shouldn't do it like that, or it's not real wool unless you've processed it all from the sheep's fleece down to the yarn. It is. Just do what you feel you enjoy, okay? Ignore what those ones say out there. They just don't know how to break rules or bend them. You can bend them as long as you get to the same goal at the end. That's all that counts, okay? So you go off there and enjoy what you're doing. You always get a cheerleader out of me if you're that way inclined. So there we go. So I'm nearly at the end of this. I'm still wrapping. I'm not doing any knops. I will do knot wrapping on another video next time with a darker yarn, so you can see what it is that I'm doing, and then I'll show you what it looks like once it's been plied next time. So we'll do the wrapping technique, we'll do the knot, and then we'll ply it, and I will do the dangle down bit at the back so you can see the effect from the attempt of a boucle on a yarn, and then we'll integrate that all into one video on my next video, okay? And then the one after that, I will definitely be looking into fibre preparation before you spin, how to, when you're bought fibres from suppliers and they all seem a little bit crunchy and hard to work with, there are hints that I can give you to help you be able to use that without feeling like you're strangling it. Okay. There we go, nearly done. So that's what we've got planned for February. With the fibre preparation as well, I might after that include a maintenance video on how to look after your spinning wheel, what to do with it, and your drum card at the same time, how to clean that, how to get the best use out of it, the things and the tools that I use when it comes to cleaning my drum carder, and making sure it's all ready for use for another 6 months. So there we go, that's February's videos, turning this wraparound technique into applied yarn, and other little effects you can do as while you're doing it. And then the next video will be maintenance of your spinning wheel, especially handy for you guys that are new to it and you've got these questions, or you want to decorate it or whatever, then I will answer as much as I can. And if you want to put questions down underneath in the comment section, please do, by all means. Stick in a couple of questions you're not sure about or you've not been able to find the information. Google research search is a brilliant place to go looking for this information. There's loads of articles out there, but if you'd rather just ask me, then A, I've got the answers, and B, if I haven't, I will go and find them for you. Okay, so there we go. So what I'll do now is I will go and get my steam kettle out, and I'll get this steam set wrapped into a ball. I need a pair of scissors. That polyester is really hard. Steam set into a ball, and then I will do a little swatch. So don't go too far. I will be back. So I'm just doing different tensions on this swatch, just so you can see or help you think of or imagine the different tension, the different size needles that you would use if you were knitting with this as well. So I've done like a half stitch, sorry, I'm telling the dog off for jumping up my knee, a half stitch, a single stitch, and then a double stitch in the crochet. So you can just see that different tensions or different needle sizes will give you a different look on this very subtle, oh, wrong one, forgot to add my stitch in, this very subtle yarn wrap because of the threads. As I said, next time I will do them as a ply with a darker one or a different type of yarn, like that tweedy fibre that I've got over there. I might do it on that Donegal, and then you can see an even more defined effect. And if I've got time, I'll try and get a sample spun up so you can see what it looks like as a singles yarn, and then what it'll look like as a plied yarn with the thinner fibres. I'll look for something anyway next time on there, something a bit more darker so you can see it. So we're nearly at the end of this. Once I've got this swatch sorted, I'll catch up with you and show you what it looks like. Okay. Oh. It's been ages since I've done any crochet, so it took me a while to get going. I would say it's been at least 3 years since I've crocheted a blanket. Crikey, that's a long time, Joe. See, it's you lot. You keep me busy and on my toes. I don't have time for the stuff that I really enjoy doing. I'll have to wait for retirement for that. Like you all. All you lot. I'll catch you in a sec. Okay, so there we go. It's not my best swatch sample I've ever done before, but I will start keeping these so we can do a synopsis at the end of the year of what we've done and what we've achieved. And if you want to do the same thing, then by all means do, with all your little samples. And just do a little sample of each every time we do these sort of spins. And stick them in a notebook or in a Polly Pocket, stick it in a folder. Save a sample of your actual spun yarn. I'm not really one for keeping stuff like this, but I thought, well, I'll do that this year. As soon as we go along, and then that's my crocheted swatch. I haven't crocheted in 4 years, so it took me a few attempts at the beginning to get going again, but it wasn't long. I mean, I have been crocheting since I was 13 years old, so yeah, but I haven't crocheted for about 4 years, which is mental. All my blankets in my house and my throws on the sofas are all crocheted. The one that the dog's sitting on now, I'll show you. That one, that's crocheted by me. It's been chewed up. Anyway, so there we go. So, yarn wrapped fibre, wool, singles, auto wrapping is another expression some people use. And you can just make it out on my little sample that I've got left over. If you want to do this at home, and go back over to my other videos that I had and that I've done on spinning since I've been doing back to basics. I think since what, the middle of summer, end of summer last year, I think. So there's a fair few. I think there's about 16 videos at the moment. I will have to go and double check before I put a number on this one. So yeah, auto wrapping, single wrap wool, knops are the little bits where it twists back and forth, and you can actually just make it out on this piece here. See where it's back and forth. What are you eating? Oh, it's a teddy. So it wraps back and forth on itself. Hold on a minute, try and get that to focus. Definitely next video we'll do auto wrapping, knop and everything else. I will use a Donegal or a thicker yarn on a natural wool so you can see exactly what it is that I'm talking about. But have a go at this now, and the next time we will ply it up and we'll do another little swatch to see what that effect looks like afterwards. Okay, so I'm off for now. Oh, I do want to mention, dog, go away. I do want to mention, if you haven't watched my live chat or follow me on any social media platforms, honestly, Stop it now. I'm busy. I have gone on to my Patreon. I've been a user of Patreon and sponsored other people on there. And I've been asked on numerous occasions to do online workshops. It's not been viable for me to be able to do it via my website. It's just not possible, not cost effective. So what I've done is I've gone over to Patreon, and the link is in the descriptions below. And you can find me over there on patreon.com/Woolly Cottage. I'll leave the link in the descriptions. You can find me on there. There's a 7-day trial that you can see. There's and 2 tiers. Once your 7 days is up, you can opt for what tier. There's a £3 one once a month or £5 once a month. The £5 once a month payment, the £5 tier, you'll get first dibs and exclusive videos. And then the smaller tier, the £3 one, will get their video. The exact same one is what you're getting about probably 2 weeks later, or around about a week later, actually, is probably fairer. Now, those videos will be exclusive to Patreon, okay? They will end up on YouTube. Time, I haven't got any idea, but it'll be at least a month or more before they get access to those. And they'll be heavily edited, okay, over on Patreon for members. So the members get a fair ride. You're helping sponsoring me to be able to make these videos on YouTube, because it does cost me money. These are supplies. I am actually a business. If you didn't know, this isn't just a hobby for me. This is a business. I'm woollycottage.com. I've been in business for nearly 8 years. As a wool dyer and fibre artist. I am a business. I'm not just on here for YouTube. I've only been doing YouTube for 3 years because my customers asked me if I could go on there and start showing them what it is that I do. So please do keep in mind that when I'm doing these demonstrations and these spinnings and the blending, these are generally all going on to my shop to sell, if they sell. The hand spun stuff very rarely sells, and I usually end up using it to wrap up gifts and things like that. So I am dipping into my business stock. So by sponsoring me over on Patreon, you get exclusive access. You're helping support these videos so it doesn't shortchange me in my business, because I can't declare them as anything because it's waste. So, and I'm too small a business to be paying any tax anyway at this moment in time. So it's just not, I can't put in, I've used up 50 grams and it's had to go in the bin. It just doesn't work like that. So yeah, so by going over there, you'll get unlimited access to members only videos. You'll get content on there that will not appear on YouTube in full context. And you'll also get videos and themes that I won't be showing on YouTube either ever, or it won't be for a long time before they start popping on there. At the moment, for the next 6 months, or even longer, it all depends on what the members want to do. Where there's going to be a platform where it's more interactive, where you'll be asked questions, you can ask me questions, and once a month there'll be a vote in, because at the moment we're going to do storyteller blending. There is a link to a video. You can, if you go onto Patreon, there's access to this video for free, whether you're a member or not. And you can go onto the Woolly Cottage page on Patreon platform and go and view this video. And it's a storyteller bat that I did a couple of years ago. And what I do is I blend up 3 bats inspired by 3 pictures from the one dye pot. So it's really from the one dye session. So I'll dye up a wool. I'll have 1 main colour, 1 base colour and 1 complementary colour, and they'll feed through the 3 pictures, but I'll be making completely unique bats with these colours. Might be a spectrum of, I don't know, blue, grey and yellow, and the main one will be blue, grey and yellow, but the other one might be more blues and grey, and the other one might be more blue and yellow. All depends on the pictures that we pick. Okay, so there's a vote on at the moment for members to choose your 3 base colours, and then I go off and find some pictures, and then on Wednesday this week it's a vote for the colours that you want me to dye on Thursday. That video will come onto YouTube over the next month, but it'll be heavily edited again, and you won't see or hear the actual talking through, but you can access that via Patreon. So yeah, and then every week will be an installment of a video of me blending each colourway, and then at the end of the after 4 weeks it'll be a Q&A where people can come in, ask me questions, put suggestions in of content that you want me to do later on and throughout down the line. There will be a top tier coming in at some point. I just need to work out the kinks out to make it fair. But that could be included, will be sent out every quarter. So anyway, so that's the news. If you want to go over and follow me over there, especially if you're interested in blending art bats and making your own and utilising up the stash that you may be collecting, you've got loads of one colour but you're not quite sure where to go with it, come pop over and catch me over on Patreon. The descriptions will be in the box below. Just click on that and you'll find all the information. Yeah, next month 2 new videos and live chats. So this week's Back to Basics video, next week is live chat, and then every other week alternate Back to Basics and live chats. So I hope to catch you then. If you don't catch me there, you can always get me over on Instagram on a Saturday lunchtime for my coffee break live chats, or you can get me on a Wednesday lunchtime over here on YouTube, and you can ask some fire me questions. If you want more information about Patreon, give me a shout, and I'll give you all the information that I can give you. Anyway, I hope you find this video useful, and I will see you again back here and Back to Basics in a fortnight. Bye for now. Take care, and don't forget to subscribe and like and hit that bell. Very much appreciated. Bye for now.